We just had a very insightful conversation with Steve Yamina.
I'm Steve Yamina, MD at the Digital Monkeys, which is advertising and digital agency based in Nairobi.
His career has spanned a lot of things, just coming from advertising, getting into digital.
The thing that I wanted to join advertising was very selfish. There's a time I dropped some stuff in an agency and I saw the creative director with a beer at 10 a.m. smoking a cigarette. I was in shock, man. I was like, man, I went telling everyone, man, this is where I want to work. Man, you have to grow a thick skin. Advertising was brutal. A fuck up was not treated as a learning. No, it was not. It was like, guys, gather around. Literally, this happened. Come and see what this guy is doing.
From the business perspective, we also discussed content creators.
It's good to differentiate whether you're an influencer or a content creator.
Let's start there.
That's a good
Yeah, because most people, and even clients, don't know, right? I don't think an influencer or a content creator is a salesperson. They are just an aggregator of your message.
I think the conversation of digital gets overcomplicated and people put in a lot of layers to it in a way that it becomes something that you don't want to do.
Man, digital moves so fast, right? If you feel like you can't catch up with it, pay someone to help you bring it together.
That thing around how you do anything is how you do everything. I think that's one key lesson that I hope that our community will really take out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks. Cheers.
Steve, welcome to Successful Fuck Ups.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, so ideally, all we discuss is setbacks, failures, mistakes, fuck ups that have really defined who you are, where you've gotten in your career. You know, we've known each other for quite some years in this creative field, working on advertising, what we call digital. I think as you were coming in, we also realized that you probably hadn't met Jimmy before, but your work has interacted and you have a lot of stories to tell. So, but before we get into your story, really, we'll just start. You can just introduce yourself briefly, then we'll get on.
All right. By the way, on my way here, I showed someone the title of this podcast, and they said you clearly didn't F up with the name. It's a really
Was
good
it a
name.
successful one?
It's a successful one. The name itself. So I'm Steve Yamina. Currently, I'm the MD at the Digital Monkeys, which is advertising and digital agency based in Nairobi. And we focus on different things. I'm not here to sell TDM. But pretty much my career has been advertising, luckily, from the word go. I started quite a while. So most of my stories around advertising are career-based and also a bit of freelancing. But I've also done quite a bit of business here and there. So today I think the thing that I'm going to bring is experiences in different ways, right?
Yeah, and that's what we're going for.
Exactly. And the fuck-ups around these experiences, whether small or big, sometimes eventually you'll see how it all links to become this huge thing that if you avoided or didn't avoid can actually work out. Yeah.
Okay, so I think let's just touch on with your early days. I think you mentioned you've been in advertising for quite some years.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of things in between. But in the early days, is there anything that you did back then that you did with good intentions, but it ended up being quite a fuck up? But while you're looking at it in hindsight, it was actually a defining point in your life and career.
Yeah. And it's not so much in the beginning time. So there's a time we were doing some work and, it's like a publication for annual reports, but the financial side that goes into the newspapers. So I'd been sending the client the work, let's say it's 9 a.m. They take 2 hours to respond. We get to 11. I send back the work in 5 minutes. It comes back at 2, the response. And it's pretty much 5 minutes changes. By the time we got to 6 p.m., I was like, you know what? Based on this thing that we've been doing, 2 hours, let me actually head home. But this time, on my way home, there's traffic and all, the client sends back the final change within 10 minutes, which now I can't do until I get home. Getting home after 1 hour, long and short of it, I got my first warning letter in my life because of that job. And I was really mad because I was like, man, what are the odds? But the thing that actually this taught me is closing. It's called reconciling everything that you do in terms of client work until the client actually says, you can go home, you don't go home. And even after they say that, and it's a practice I carry till today, I will always wait. Even when the client has said, this is the final, you can now go, I'll still give it a buffer of about maybe 30 minutes, just, shutting down, doing all these kinds of things, because anything that is really major can change in the last minute. So seeing the job through all the way to the end, sometimes even if you can, wait until you see it in the newspaper, if you can. But pretty much, that taught me pretty much diligence and follow through all the way to the end until it's done, not moving, because anything could happen.
That's quite relatable. I don't know why people in the early days are given those reports and weird things to be doing in our industry, but I also have an experience where I was doing these budget reports.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, with budget reports, the minister will announce during the day. In the morning, this organization has a meeting or a conference with their people, which means it needs to be designed, it needs to be proofread, it needs to be printed, all within 12 hours of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think luckily for me, I didn't make that fuck up. And all of them were delivered. It's quite interesting how people are given such tasks during the early days. So
I was even gonna, we keep saying the early days. People would think, we were
in the
this is in
early
the 70s,
60s.
in the early 60s, which is still not early days, by the way.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe you mentioned, of course, your identity comes from digital. But digital was born here in, I don't know.
Actually, no. My identity comes from advertising, the hardcore one.
Good. That's where I want us
sticking stuff.
That's where I want us to go.
Yeah.
Like that background, where how up to the digital part. What was that evolution? Where did you start off from?
So I won't mention names. I have a nice story. So I think I was in USIU when I realized on my final year that I want to do advertising.
And what were you doing in USIU?
I did journalism and PR.
Okay.
Right? So when I realized I want to do advertising, I want to get in. So I am talking to different people in the industry. So I meet a gentleman who I was with in Form 5, who is in advertising in a huge agency in Nairobi. And I meet him, I remember it was at Tamasha in the toilet. And I asked him, hey, yo, bro, you're in advertising. How do I get in?
In the toilet. Good things happen.
in the urinal. And this guy, Maze, coldly just told me I don't discuss work outside. And here I am wanting some mentorship, right? But pretty much that was the first time I realized I wanted. But even more than anything, the thing that wanted me to join advertising, that I wanted to join advertising, was very selfish. There's a time I dropped some stuff in an agency and I saw the creative director with a beer at 10 a.m. smoking a cigarette. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, it was very, what's that show called?
Mad Men.
It was very Mad Men-ish, yeah.
I was in shock, man. I was like, man, I went telling everyone, man, this is where I want to work. It's so relaxed. The guy had a vest. And I'm like, man, and he's working on stuff. And I'm like, how do I get in? So that's when I did a bit of research. But how I actually landed in advertising was a fluke. So again, another friend within the same year.
Are they ever flukes? Or that's how it was supposed to be? Sometimes
It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just meant to happen and it happened, and that's why we are here in this
the
podcast.
fluke happens when you're in the process. It doesn't. If you were sitting and just chilling, probably it would never have happened.
That's true again.
Yeah.
And also, this person saw the interest in me years back, and when everything aligned, as you've said, it actually happened. So I just went to visit my boy in an agency. This was Newton at the time, and he told me, Newton Bates, and he told me, hey man, come for an interview right now. The bosses are here. I'm like, what? And I went, I met the good man, Sam Madoka, and I met Alfred Amulioto.
Man with a good voice.
Yeah, Coca-Cola voice during those days.
Yeah.
And that was a Thursday. Monday, I was sitting on the desk working.
Yeah. So there's no bullshit. Okay.
Yeah.
There was a lot of jobs.
You did a lot.
But also there was a lot of, according to me, there was a lot of arrogance. I don't know whether to call it that. Like, you said you met someone in the bathroom and they're like, I don't talk about.
Yeah.
People who are very macho. People are very, I don't know what the word is. It's so you needed to, I don't know, maybe some thick skin kidogo.
Funny, because that word, thick skin, my boss kept telling me at that time, the creative director in the agency kept saying, man, you have to grow a thick skin. tulikuwa tunatukanwa, but eventually years later is when you realize what he was doing, because it's a brutal industry in that sense. I always give these stories to the studio at TDM now, and guys are looking at me like, these things happened. It's like they're seeing a fossil or a rare species.
It's one of those, advertising is one of those places where you sort of like have a white canvas. The answer is not defined. It's not like there is a formula, but it's this formula is only seen the more you you peel the onion. So a lot of times people want to, people have that bruteness.
Yeah.
So that when you're presenting solutions and ideas, it's almost like even if we don't get the idea, we get you. So I think that's where it came from. And then the industry at the time was there were not a lot of Kenyan people. Well, let me not say Kenyan. I mean, there were not
indigenous
many
agencies. Were like only 2. I remember.
Yeah, there were not very many people were like foreigners
being led by foreigners.
Yes. Yeah. So it was almost like everyone trying to make to leave your footprint on the ground. So you're right. It was a very I don't know what to put it, but it was not a place where if you catch feelings, you wouldn't survive easily. Yeah, you wouldn't survive. You kind of had to have some level of thick skin, because people are mean, I think.
Yeah, the guys were.
All right. So you were at USIU. So you met.
So I joined advertising, and pretty much, first of all, I didn't know even how to use any tool like Photoshop or Illustrator. That Thursday that I accepted the job to Monday is where I did most of my learning. And 3 weeks later is a lot of fuck ups every day. And Jimmy, you've just rightly said, like, advertising was brutal. A fuck up was not treated as a learning.
No.
It was not. It was like, guys, gather around. Literally, this happened. Come and see what this guy is doing. Come and see what this guy is doing.
Yes, for the job.
Yeah. Look at how this guy is painting this bus. I was told to paint a bus, the way you change a bus's color from blue to red. And I was using Illustrator. Guys who are designers will get how dumb that is. And I'm working, and the guy calls everyone on my screen. And I'm thinking, this guy is showing Ville. I know. I really know how to do it. Then he's like, man, what are you doing? Then a guy just tells you at 2 p.m., you seem like you're tired, go home. And you start packing yourself. You're like, what the hell?
What has just happened?
Yeah. But it was really great. I feel like the things that you learn in those days, those early days, actually form a lot of how you'll continue working at the end, right? So, for example, if you've not built discipline to take criticism at that time, you will not later on, right? And one day, the criticism will be coming from a client, right? So if, let's say, you can't take it from your colleagues, it's very difficult to take it. And I saw many guys. There's a guy who was really, really good, but he could not take any addition or subtraction from his work. And as much as he was the best person in that studio, he really didn't last, because every time, like, we couldn't learn from him, you can't talk to him, and eventually not being in that team kind of stuff really messed him up. Yeah.
It's good that you a lot of people who got into that space, there was no school to go at the time. So you threw yourself into the problem, and you sort of like found, I like what you've said, which is, I think it's almost like it used to happen everywhere. And not to misdirect your question, but there was something I remember as well. Whenever there was something done, the review used to happen around your desk. And then people would come there.
Guys would gather around.
They'll gather around your desk. And then if it's bullshit, it's bullshit. And you're told right there and then. If you're defending it, you defend whatever it is that's happening. And I remember we used to have, at one of the places I worked myself, they used to have review meetings on Saturday morning. And it's a half day. Keep in mind you're young. So obviously, Friday you are somewhere.
Doing things.
So Saturday morning, you're there. And there was a simple rule. Based on the department, you used to say the number of hours, and then those hours were calculated with a rate. And then if those hours don't equate to a certain figure, stand up in the boardroom and say you did nothing that week. And I usually say that story, and people are like, "Oh, that is such a toxic environment."
Yeah.
Well, you could argue, and people who are there will probably remember, but you could argue it is. But I think at that time, going through that process, there are very few things there are very few rooms you can throw me at, and you scare me.
Yeah.
Because
You've gone through
it was the worst. And you are coming, you have a hangi or not, or maybe you're still not even, that's not even a hangi, you're still high.
Yeah.
So people are throwing up in the parking lot, and then coming back, then you're harassed, and then you wait until 12, and then now you go home. But it builds some form of...
It does, some resilience. One of the things my former boss used to say, like, now he's coaching me into taking his role, right? I can remember one of the lessons he told me was like, if you want to punish someone in the studio, you don't punish them by giving them a lot of work. Deny them work. Because if you give someone too much work and they successfully complete it, one, you're dependable on them. Number two, the guy is busy. The day he takes leave, you're doomed. So he used to say, to punish a creative mind is to tell them, sit there and complete other people's work. Guys, don't use this. Don't use this. Yeah. Don't try it at home. But that was quite interesting and just thinking, yeah.
Okay, so at least when I first met you, you were already at TDM.
Yeah.
Which that time and still focuses mainly on digital and content creation. So how did you decide to make that shift from this, what we'd call traditional advertising, and decided to let's form this new agency that's on digital? What was the thought process? How did you end up there?
So how we moved, actually, in all studios I've worked, we've always tried to create a digital, if I can call it that, a digital department, starting from the early days in the 70s anyway. We had always tried to start a studio for digital, but I realized once, of course, you work in a digital agency, it's very few things that limit people from starting this department. So number one, you don't want to bring in expertise, new people who actually know what to do. So you feel like you can upskill the current people who are used to just doing advertising in the old way. Secondly, while you do digital in a non-digital agency, you're probably doing 2% of what's needed. And here's what you'll do. You'll only be resizing the billboard to 1080 by 1080 to fit into Instagram or that kind of stuff. So you think you're doing digital by just iterating the things that have gone on traditional, but digital is so deep, so deep. But joining TDM, I already joined an agency that existed. I don't know if you know this. So we bought into it. So my partner, Frank Kabu, he's the head of digital and tech. And man, sitting with that guy every day just make me know I know nothing. So again, it's a shift. Anytime you shift careers, no matter the industry, there's a lot of learning that you have to do beyond that is up to you. So the shift came, of course, everybody was saying things are moving digital, you remember? At that time, digital transformation.
Including TV.
Yeah, that buzzword, yeah. I know there's a producer here we've shot with, and I remember there was a camera that was shooting in vertical, another one in landscape. Those things never used to exist, right? So it's just moving with the times and understanding digital. And luckily, COVID happened, yeah? And I'm saying this. Luckily, COVID happened. Because when COVID happened, this is when clients who are a bit reluctant to move into digital had to pay close attention to it. And close attention here meant that there was a lot of work during COVID. So as much as many companies were really
So when
going...
we are complaining,
we were growing at 1,400%.
There's always someone celebrating in the middle of...
Yeah, of course, it was a bad time, but actually, it really moved the industry forward in terms of both billings and just understanding that this thing can actually work. Marketing managers used to do this, right? When they allocated 100% budget for marketing, they used to do everything they're doing for traditional. And then the thing that remains, maybe 15, 20%, let's do a bit of digital and see. So digital used to be an afterthought, but over the years after COVID, I think digital budgets are shifting 10% year on year, which is meaning right now, some companies are even doing 90% digital and 10% traditional. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite some growth. But you've mentioned something in terms of what would call traditional agencies and moving to digital and them trying to create their digital department. and fucking up because it wasn't really their mainstay. And I feel like that also happens even in brands where when you try to create an extension of the brand, then you end up diluting the full brand. Do you think, and not even in our industry itself, but do you think that's also a problem that affects other industries where you're trying to run for this new shiny thing without taking full advantage of it?
True, in many ways. So, for example, one of the fuck ups that you can actually do, will you guys take that part? You know, I have a Christian audience.
For you, we will.
Anyway,
It's not a bad word.
One of the, but anyway, what's the title of the podcast?
Yeah,
anyway?
it's not a bad word.
So one of the things that I've quickly realized is trying to be everything. If you start a company as an individual, especially, let me talk about advertising, you wear all the hats, right? You'll be the guy chasing the money. You'll be the guy doing the work. You'll be the guy doing the presentation. You'll be the guy. Everything is you. I remember a few years back, I was one of that person and I went to look for business, but my business card said managing director. You know, when you start register a company, you're the MD. And I went to this guy and he told me, why is the MD doing sales work? And I quickly shifted and changed my business card to marketing so that it looks like I have other people, but it was just me. But pretty much.
It's that thing where people say you're a solopreneur, but in your proposals you write we.
Yeah, we will review and get back to you. But you can learn from different industries on how not to try and do everything. And I normally give a very good example. If you look at people who are selling clothes, there's a very deliberate reason why someone is only selling jeans and nothing else, right? There's a reason why you are known as the person who sells shoes, right? And in case you go to their shop and you find out that this person who's buying shoes from you wants a pair of jeans, you call the person who's an expert in jeans to actually help you sell. You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
If you've bought secondhand, they'll always bring that person, and it becomes like a one-stop. The reason is, anytime you want to buy jeans, you'll never go anywhere else. You never think of anyone else. But if this guy was doing everything, he's no longer an expert, right? And that's the danger. I equate that to now what business try to do. So you try, all of a sudden, the digital monkeys is moving into catering. And guys are like, okay.
Beekeeping.
Yeah, beekeeping. Yeah. You guys are so confused. You'd rather be known for one thing. Of course, you can start other verticals, but you'd rather start verticals that are really related to the thing that you're doing. That way you are known and you become an expert. Yeah.
Where do you think that intention comes from? Because I think there's the ability, the need to do those many little things sometimes is consumed as, on one hand, as hunger. You know, someone can say, oh, this person is
innovative,
hungry. You know, hey, you will say such things, you know. Yeah. But then again, on a certain level, I think the deep down feeling sometimes is it's coming from a place of scarcity, where you believe, you know, you do many things, alafu ile itaangukia, itaangukia. You know, there are some environments where people don't think there are systems. Like, for example, farming.
Yeah.
Farming is one of those places that systems have to it's a system-driven environment. They usually say bullshit in, bullshit out. If there's something you didn't do at the beginning, don't expect an outcome to come out of it at the end.
Yeah.
You can't start selling eggs if you don't have the chicken. You can't start having the chicken without a value chain for and in a sense, things, as you're saying, they have to be related. The verticals have to be related. And I think one of the things we end up doing is, in trying to do many things, we are trying to, fill up for which I think, according to me, comes from a scarcity point of view. Nitajaribu kila kitu mpaka moja iliane, and then in the end, you've done so many things, but you do not know what is that one thing that you are good at. Therefore, you can do it. You can do it properly. Diversifying, as I have seen in some book, that diversify even for money.
Yeah,
people want to start discussing diversification at a certain figure.
Yeah,
that is when you hear people saying, "Oh, diversification strategy." But before that figure, it needs to be focused.
Yeah,
because to get you to that place, it needs you need to have an identity that people know. I come to for, and as a result, this is what they give me, and they exchange that value for with money. So I get what you're saying.
And even another layer to that, in terms of creating a niche, is around even when you do that one thing, you better also do it for a certain customer,
Okay.
not everyone. So early days of Digital Monkeys, I remember when we did our strategy, we were going for everyone. And we got a lot of SMEs and we got corporates and we are trying to get everything. We're still doing the same thing, but we have these clients that we worked hard that year. But at the end of the year, you're looking at the numbers, you're like, man,
It doesn't make sense.
we've done so much, right? And there's this thing that it's that spiral that you get into. If you get a client of 20 bob, you'll keep getting a client.
Yeah.
They'll keep referring each other. Even if you tell them, wait, don't tell anyone I did it for 20 shillings. They'll keep coming. So
Even after they start with that, let's start here.
yeah.
And I
As
know
we
very many
grow.
people.
You'll
And
always
as we grow,
We'll grow
we are
together.
going to grow together.
By
Do
then, we
not
growing
listen to
together
that,
is a
eh?
red flag. Yeah.
Why are we
For me.
growing together?
Yeah. So we quickly learned that, of course, we had messed up. We didn't know at that time we were getting clients, right? But you're being called by 30 people a day, needing different. But later on, we decided to invest in strategies for business, which is a thing I wish we had done at the beginning. And when we went, it was a 2-day thing. It was very expensive. I won't say how much. But it's one of those investments that you make that
It's valuable.
But literally, when you sit in that room, we were able to create the niches that we go to. We decided to drop some segment of clients. And trust me, with less work, within year 2 or 3, we were probably tripling our billings, paying our people better, right? Because now we can afford it, and actually enjoying the work, which is more
Which is
important.
another part that people don't like to talk
Yeah.
about, because you have to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not selling just a physical product. If you are the work and it's a service and you have to enjoy it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also earlier on, you had talked about, Alon, the switch. So you see, there's another switch that you really need to be prepared for is, let's say you are a creative and that's what you do, and you switch into business, right? You need to switch, not just, you have to do a 100% switch in that, in terms of your mind and how you're thinking. So for example, my focus was always on good work, right? Just delivering good work quickly. That's the thing. And as a freelancer, every time I've done that, I've always won. But now you start realizing from the business side, you have to look at how long did it take you, for example, to deliver this good work? What did it cost to do this? Does it make sense on the books? So even, Jimmy, we were just discussing earlier, even with Justin, that even as I write a script nowadays, I think of it from a business perspective. Like, I know my client very well. I know they can afford this or not, which has helped a lot of work actually see the light of day. Before, I used to write this grand...
You see yourself at the Grammys picking an award because you
my
wrote
name is
something
already
cool.
being mentioned. Yeah, exactly.
First, I want to thank God.
Yeah. And luckily now, in my earlier days at Newton had a philosophy that I think really, really has guided me all the way till now, where you need to move as an entrepreneur, even as a creative, every day. And you need to think of yourself as a small shop in the village and the little things that they can do to succeed. Little things. Do you open on time? Are you predictable? Anytime someone comes to your shop or your kiosk, will they find you open? Number one. Small things. So are you a reliable person? Number two, will you always have the things that these people want? The main things they want? Number three, are you kind? How do you speak to people? That's why 2 shops can open at the same level, but one thrives more
And the other.
because of people. So you quickly learn people is very important in our business, and we are in advertising. Relationships are everything. And all these lessons culminate into you transforming into looking at things in 360. If you start looking at things in 360, even as a creative only, it starts making a lot of sense on why you can't take some decisions over others. Yeah.
I think I can chime in on that a bit. In terms of that switch from, let's say, being a creative to now handling a business. And you've really mentioned that when you get into business, it's about, are you generating revenue, are you generating margins and all that. And that analogy of that small shop in a village really works well. And I think that's something that we can have our listeners have as a takeout, that business is actually as simple as that small shop. Is the customer experience good?
Yep.
Is inventory coming in and leaving as fast as possible? Those small things.
Are you managing the money nicely?
Yes. Is there cash generation?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's small things. And I think that's a really good takeout. So take us back and then forward a bit. So you mentioned during COVID, you started getting these businesses and all that, and you've been growing from there. But now as we look at digital today, and that depends on whatever definition you have. I think we were discussing with Jimmy earlier, and many people will have a different definition of what digital is. Yeah? So from your perspective, when you look at digital, and as, let's say, someone in an SME, I've started this business, it's growing, I have employees, I'm trying to grow, and I think that digital is where I can actually derive this growth from. What are the things that you're seeing people doing that are working out for them? And also, what are you seeing people doing that they think is what they should be doing, but they're really fucking up on?
Oh, okay. So a few years back, there's this company that was listed, and we were in a meeting, and we asked the MD of the company, so when are you starting your online store? And he says it's a plan for the next 5 years. It's a plan for the next 5 years, online store. I was in shock. You're in retail, and your digital plan is a 5-year plan? Well, there were a lot of things in the background that couldn't enable that quick response. But for small businesses, even from before, I think people have really known how to use digital in a way that works. So here's an example. For example, at that time, we were trying to explain that someone can go to Uganda, where guys used to buy clothes from.
Yeah.
So they go on Thursday, they do shopping on Friday, they take the bus back on Saturday, and Sunday, they're on Facebook selling the items. Here's another thing that guys can beat you on digital and how they've used it. That guy will get a call to bring one pair of shoes to an office, but he understands that this office has more people. So he'll carry 20 pairs to the office, which big businesses cannot do. So in terms of how leveraging digital is just understanding the things that are actually, and the tools that are actually at your disposal to sort out the things that are really critical to your business. So if it's sales and marketing that is critical, you need to at least be aware, not even use, at least know that these tools exist. Know that boosting of a post exists. Know that segmentation digitally exists. Know that entertaining people, you need to know that these things exist. For example, there's a company that I follow on TikTok. They sell TVs. Can't remember their name. But every time I look at their content, they give stories, right? They give stories about how, for example, it would say something like, kuna mtu alikuwa ameenda kwa duka, akaacha mlango wazi, akarudi, akapata TV hakuna. Na tunawaambia muweke TV mount, ishikilie TV yenu, hamsikii. So you see, he is selling TV mounts, but he's realized TikTok is an entertaining channel. So the best way to do it, I would buy a TV stand from them. And they do that with each and every of their content. So they've quite learned. So any business that feels like digital is not strong enough, some businesses actually don't have a website, or when you do an audit, either their website is too slow.
It's a brochure.
Yeah.
It's like a brochure.
It's like a brochure. It's just one of those things. We have an address, PO box. But pretty much, even that website can be a very strong tool to push any agenda that you have digitally. So most companies are doing well. The thing that I feel like some companies need to do more is to just do an audit of their digital spaces. So either social, website, and how you actually do that. For example, we went to a company that has these piles and piles of data of their clients, but they don't know how to convert it. They just say, we've collected it, it's here. I feel like those companies need to now hire professionals to show them, how do you turn these assets that you already have into real cash? Yeah.
Okay, and if you look at this other side of the divide in terms of digital, and we speak to content creators who are pretty much mushrooming, I think TikTok really pushed this field to the next level. And they're also businesses in their own right. Yeah, it's this person who's trying to build a life by creating content. Where do you think some people are doing well, and where do you think they're fucking up?
The place where, first of all, it's good to differentiate whether you're an influencer or a content creator.
Yes, let's start there.
That's a good
Because most people, and even clients, don't know, right? A content creator is pretty much someone who can just pick up their camera and do some interesting stories around your brand. An influencer is the one who will make people take action towards your brand. So it's a very huge difference. Depending on who you are, and I work with many of them, right? First of all, in how they price. Some people have really underpriced themselves, but most have really overpriced.
Yeah.
Anytime I see a quote and
rate card,
money,
yeah.
it's really crazy. And rate card. And Jimmy, I like that you've said rate card. First of all, it's good just not to have a rate card. You can have it in your head, but it's good to look at the client's needs and negotiate around it. If you're an influencer or a content creator. But also to clients, this debate on whether they sell or not, right, is one of the crazy things. First of all, these people they're not salespeople. I don't think an influencer or a content creator is a salesperson. They are just an aggregator of your message. What message do you have and what product? The only time they will act as salespeople is when you assign to them a redemption code, right? And tell your people, anytime they put in this code, they get a discount. Then we can easily measure how many people came through you. And it has to be really deliberate. In fact, if you open up conversations about sales, most of them will not sign that contract. Yeah. So it's a difficult place to be, but definitely in 2025, it's an area of growth. In the creators, most people are getting into that space. Yeah.
Are you seeing it as you say that many people are getting into it? There's an ambiguity, and I agree that sometimes we don't know where to place people. Are they content creators? Are they influencers? In many ways, I see them as consumption happens because of culture, right? So they are contributors to culture. And before, the contribution to culture was TV. So we would sit around, even your living room was designed around a TV. Mnaeka viti hivi mnaangalia
TVs
hapo,
are the center.
mnaangalia hapo mbele.
And if the TV is off in that living room, it's awkward.
It's awkward. Hata hamjui mnaongelea. Baba yenyu hata akona kiti ile.
Yeah.
You know, that one seat that they sit on. So they are contributors of culture, as I'm saying, which there have been many other sources of that. Do you see, there's been stories, you know, in the introduction of AI and so many things. Do you see, what is that evolution going to look like, as you would imagine, when people say the era of influencers, everyone is going to be a content creator?
Yeah. You are the news.
You know, like what does that look like?
I always have this thing, like it has to fall in place with your strategic vision for your brand. As a brand manager or a marketing manager, is that thing in line with what you want to achieve for the year? I see so many times someone come up as an content creator, not even an influencer, and all brands
they jump
to him with no strategic thinking, right? There's a client we dropped even before we signed the contract, simply because the way they were moving, there was no strategic vision. The strategy was what the founder thought, and that's a real threat to many businesses. If I say, get me this person, you can't, I have their number, call, we've agreed. So all these things need to be centered around a core strategy that comes from the business strategy, moves into the marketing strategy, moves into the brand strategy, and now the capability and all that stuff. If they all form as part of your strategic plan, then fine, go for it. Some companies I know in Kenya have experimental budgets, right?
Yes.
They do. Like in their marketing department, they'll say, we are giving 20% for experimenting. That's a really good thing to do, because now you can be deliberate and know that some things are being done just to test and see what works, so that now the following year that informs. Then that's fine. But on a lean budget and where you need to really be strategic on who you choose, why you choose them, and actually have KPIs for your business, not just marketing. Yeah.
What would you tell, like if you are to flip this, because who's driving the conversation? Is it the content creators or is it the businesses? Who's the driver?
Who's supposed to?
Yeah.
One of the things one of our clients said, why is this person charging us so high and we are the ones who's going to build them? Basically, you're tapping into our platform, into our people. We'll do this sharing. To be honest, I think it's both ways. Some brands will build the people. How do you decide, for example, Alon, which influencer is good? This is a question. How do you decide?
I think for me, it's a number of factors, but mainly leads back to the brand. So what objectives do you want to achieve with this brand? There are some objectives that require, let's say, awareness. Like we just want people to know. In our business strategy, we know as long as they know, we expect they will do X, Y, Z, which is good. But most businesses or even most brands where they currently sit at is, yes, we want you to know, but we also want you to see how it will be relevant in your life. And that relevant in your life is what's key, because content creator A might be relevant, or their life might be relevant to you, but not to me.
Yeah.
So we also really need to think about who's this person want our product or our brand to be relevant to. And then now at that point, it's not really about the numbers, because there's some content creators who have very small numbers, but you know they speak to these people.
Yeah.
If you want doctors to hear your message, this person has 10 followers, but all the doctors will hear it. I think that's how it should be. And then also, if you're working with different influencers, also looking at in their circles, do they intersect at some point? So yes, you might want to speak to the medical field, but you know this person has broad reach across the country, but then maybe they won't speak to the medical field well, but still want to have that Ferrari effect where, yes, everyone will know we exist, but we know 0.01% is the one who will actually purchase. Which, yes, you can do that. I think, just like you were mentioning, still really has to boil down to what your business strategy is. And without that, everything else, you're using your whole budget as an experimentation budget. I think that's what I'd say. But I also want to hear Jimmy's.
And it's normally a battle. If you have 1 million shillings, do you get one person and pay them the million? Do you get 10, pay them 100? Do you get 1,000, pay them 10K? What do you need to do? There's no wrong or right?
The way I see it is, in every environment, if businesses moved from creating products to creating demand. Of course, demand was built by doing regular ads and whatnot. Now, in today's environment, I think of it as a bonfire. Now, if you're going to light a big fire, you have to have small sticks. And then in between the small, on top of that, they end quickly. You have to have something that you layer on top, which is like the bigger logs, and so on and so forth. So I look at it in the same way. There are micro conversations that lead to a bigger fire. If you go straight to trying to light up the log, direct, just like that, it will take you longer. It will be a lot of effort. You probably have to pour some petrol or kerosene on top of it. And as a result, it will be a bigger effort to do that, as opposed to then starting with the small twigs and so on and so. So I see conversations in a marketplace as the same way. There has to be micro conversations, and those micro conversations are important because those micro conversations, if there is a person, say you follow, and the people you choose to follow not because of pressure, are people because they interest you, and a lot of times that person there is going to it's going to ignite a spark. So there's those people that are that category, and then you have the people who now continue the conversation from there to make it a big thing.
That's a
and
good
then
way,
and then after that, there are people now who would now come to at the end of the day, you're not supposed to have a fire die. Now you continue, but it's a mix of figuring out how that continues and how that flows. That's how I see it. But now it goes back to many things, because on one side, the way I look at it, if you're an influencer or content creator, you have the task or the onus is on you to find you're like a channel, and that channel, the same way we used to flip channels on TV, you have to know, okay, when I switch to this channel, what is it that people expect from me? And it's not something that's going to be static, unfortunately. It has to evolve. Even our guy for that thing, what is his name? Kabi,
Even
that guy for this. It started like that, but as you have seen, that guy is in movies now.
Yeah.
I think he's a bad boy or something. And even how movies are being done, I think from my observation with things like Bad Boy, there was so much trying to move away from the regular ways of promoting films and trying to integrate it with with
popular culture.
with what is popular culture.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've answered the question, but that's how I see it. And the relevance now becomes the question mark. Who are going to be these small sticks? Who are going to be these big ones? But I think sometimes we misunderstand it, and we think that they're snaps, they're finger snaps. So we think that if I go get X, he has a big following or she has a big following, it's going to ignite. But that can also just go and die, and all you had was a nice effort somewhere, you've ticked a box, but it hasn't really brought anything. But I don't want us to get too technical on that.
But I like that analogy.
Yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah.
I think for me, what I wanted us to maybe the question I have is, are you excited about, because digital follows, what digital is within tech, right?
Yeah.
And are you excited about any new maybe innovations or tools, and how do you think they'll impact digital in the next few?
There's quite a lot, right? But mainly it's the simple things that actually make a difference for many businesses. So for example, I'm excited that many companies are starting to see digital as a real thing. Imagine we're in 2025, and I'm talking like this, as a real thing in 2025.
Yeah.
That opens up a lot of possibilities. And if you look at, let's say, Kenya, for example, we lead in a lot of things that have been unlocked in these spaces, either Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok. Most countries actually don't have these capabilities. So this opens up quite a huge canvas for brands to actually play around. But even more importantly is how people are actually starting to understand data and the capabilities of what it can do. And a small example is imagine you are a restaurant, right? You've been selling food every day, but you don't have the data on what you sell. So you don't even know, should we make 10 chapatis or 20? That's data in its most... Man, if you just put that thing in an Excel sheet and and collect that data for 1 year, you shall know on June 27th next year, we'll only make 17 chapos based on this data. It's saying, for whatever reason, on this day, and any business can actually move to that level of using data. I'm making it really minute.
I think that's how it should be, actually. Yeah.
Very minute, but pretty much people have tons of data that they don't know. I think businesses that have figured out how to leverage this data, it's really important. The good thing is that AI has come and it's really cut down a lot of time. So my advice is please pay for that $20 for ChatGPT. Pay for it. I mean, we drink this money every other time.
Yesterday I was using it, and
you drank for the whole year. If you pay for it and actually use the tools inside for both your personal growth. So I like what AI. The key thing for me this year is how AI. Most of that stuff came out really strong last year on a mass level. I really want to see how it will keep refining and moving to actually see how it will help our industry or whatever industry someone is, especially business.
I like what you've said about, we tend to think of it as tools and gadgets and things, but it's more of a behavior. And as you've said, if we can get to the process of even documenting some of these things and then using, at the end of the day, it's a tool. If you use whatever it is that you do and you use these tools, then it comes to life. And maybe even the segue to that is, going back to whenever people talk about AI, which you've just introduced, initially it came off as a fear.
A huge one.
Well, I think not initially. It still
is in a way.
What do you think? Like, because most people consume it as it's going to take away people's jobs, people's I mean, movies used to be made in a certain way. Now they won't be made in a certain way because now you can key in some prompt, and people oversimplify these things, obviously. But what's your take on that? Like,
it's interesting. Whenever people count the jobs that will be taken away, people don't count the jobs that are being created.
Yes.
That are being created by this. But to be honest, we've had this discussion many times in many forums. There's no way AI is going to replace you. It will only replace the person who's not moving fast enough to know how
That's
to
a
use
good-
it. And
yeah.
it's open to anyone. And honestly, it's making life easier, right? It's making life easier. You know the role of tools, the basic role of a djembe. It's to make work easier. And this is just one of those things that probably the chariot was rejected at the beginning. Why are you replacing a horse? Why? Then we have cars now. So you can imagine that level of progression in technology. Some of them can't be stopped. They're unstoppable. AI is unstoppable. I always just feel everybody needs to jump. I don't know if you guys have seen these ads. Yeah, I keep getting them. AI challenge for people over 40.
Oh, yes.
Have you guys
I
seen?
know. I don't know whether I'm being
Hey,
targeted.
me, I've
Even me, I'm like, you haven't seen?
I have not
You're
seen
under
that
40. So that ad is really targeted. I keep receiving this thing. I'm like, what's up with 40-year-olds and above? And the AI
With AI.
challenge. Take a 20-day AI challenge. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But pretty much we all have to jump on it.
Yeah, it's a tool. And I tend to, I mean, even the internet, okay, I'll say, look, in Kenya, we have a huge benefit in some of the policies that were placed by former President Kibaki.
Yeah.
That have given us the benefit of things that you sometimes go to a different country and you understand, Allah, these things that we take for granted is not, I mean, at the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You go to anyone's house, you're like, hey, Wi-Fi password. and it's such a normal thing. But if you think about it, it changed how we bank, it changed how we buy, it changed a lot of, how we move and so on and so forth. I would imagine communication before then, maybe pre-2003 or something, it was heavily in letters form. Even the banks, I sometimes wonder, okay, I stand to be advised by people in this space, but when you're filling up stuff and they still ask you for PO box, that thing still messes with me.
I asked the other day, why? What's this thing
That
for?
thing still messes with me, and someone needs to tell me why. But
Yeah.
I never know. I mean, when was who has that key? There was a time your dad had, your parents had
For PO box, sanduku la post.
na Saturday unaambiwa uende uangalie kama kuna uende kama
barua.
uangalie kama kuna kitu. Results for school were sent to.
But do you know where you can buy a stamp now?
I have no idea.
Not in the post office.
Before they used to be in kiosks. Any kiosk had stamps.
Yeah. I saw a post where someone has put a stamp and Colgate.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then it's written, if you know
If
the
you know,
relationship between these
you're
two,
too old.
you need to have been married with 4 kids. Do you know the relationship between those two?
Yeah. No.
You do?
You don't know?
I feel like if I say yes, it will be used against me.
Okay.
No, but really, do you know?
I have an assumption. I think it was for... So when you put the stamp and it's sent, they like
stamp
stamp
it.
it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
with the...
Oh, yeah, I used to rub
you
that
can-
thing off, yeah.
You can clean it up.
To
So high
for
school-
it
okay.
was a sustainability agenda.
Yeah,
To use a stamp more than once.
So in high school, you obviously don't have money to buy stamps. So you want to send your kabeba letter.
Yeah.
You
Mlipatiwa carbon credits.
Me, I had started a
Different
business with that one because I have a nice handwriting. Or at least now it's
Writing
terrible
love letters in high
because I type too much. I used to write love letters for people. Yeah. I think that was my first brief in life because guys never used to come with like the full write up. They used to come and tell me, "Uyu ako hii shule." Nah, this is
brief.
We've had these conversations. Go.
Yeah.
So
Find
now
the emotion,
yeah.
find everything
So
there.
now I used to buy those, what were they called? Not foolscaps. There was a name.
can't
Then you used to write for guys 5 bob and inaekwa glitter after that, and you spray brute on top. Zoom it to
The full one.
Waithera. And
We'll need to do a tutorial on this for our younger viewers.
yes,
There'll
that's
be-
Understand what
zoom
this
it to.
Further readings down here.
Yeah.
But it's good that you've had that. I mean, yes, AI is a tool. And I think it's a whole subject by itself.
Yeah.
And I like that we've consumed digital as a thing that is marketing, but it's not really. It's more to do with how you operate, how you acquire, how you manage, and so on and so forth. And a lot of these tools are here to help you even operate in a lean way, as opposed to what you would have done with many hands. Now you can do with fewer hands, but maybe that's where people are seeing the loss happening, but it's always a catch-22. You win some, you lose some. By the time we moved from letters to email, by the time we moved from landlines to cell phone, there was always something that had to be given or taken.
True, yeah. That's true.
So we'll segue back to your career. So I think, Jimmy, just for context, when I met Steve, we were working on a launch for one of EABL's ciders at that time. And it was quite from our side of things, I'd say it was quite a success.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've seen just the evolution with TDM across the years, and we're still working together on a few projects. But what I want you to shed more light on is, okay, maybe even before us meeting and with the few things that you worked on, can you give us a bit on the most challenging project you've worked on? And because of that challengingness, what fuck-ups were there and how were you able to bring yourself back up?
Are you trying to rhyme?
Wow. So this was post we met, so it's something that happened probably in the last 3 years, is where you get your biggest client, right? So you've been jazzing basi. I keep saying, you know, some clients are wakujaza basi. You know those guys who sit.
Kupiga set.
Kupiga set. Don't say that loudly. You know, like, sasa ni mgani wa kupiga seti na ni mgani wa kujaza basi.
Then it gets, by the every client will play a role at a specific time. And you need to know, even people who work for you or you're in business with, there's always someone to play a role.
Yeah.
And when their role is done, it will just be known. It's something that the world will straighten. But pretty much, once we got this huge client who needed us to service this client, we had to double our agency. So before we got them, we were about 12. After we got them, we were 24, right? Really. It's really difficult. It's a really difficult thing. So you've gotten the client.
Growing quick.
You growing too quick is crazy. It's crazy. I know an agency who's growing too quick. I'm sure that's a headache that is keeping them awake right now as we speak. But pretty much resourcing. You know, it's not just about getting 12 people. You need 12 computers. Where are you getting them from? You need 12 desks. Tea, you need for 12 people. Cabs, 12. etc. 12 extra people. But even more than that, those can be done. I always say those are things that if you systemize, you can easily do. But pretty much learning how to run that kind of agency and the needs, it really made all the other clients that we were servicing successfully really complain, right? So you've gotten this big person who's taken away attention from the thing that you are known.
You have a new babe.
Exactly. And your current one is wondering, how comes, where's the good night
Texting
text?
is not...
Yeah. And what happens, and this is really crazy, you start losing those other clients that you had. And you don't lose them overnight, by the way. You lose them by them telling you, Maze, what's happening nowadays? Let's have a meeting, etc. So that balance between getting this huge client, making sure you take care of the ones that are there, and making sure that you actually also service this new one to the level that you want is really important. I feel like in the journey for Digital Monkeys, that's one of the things that when you grow too fast, in fact, we've put a halt on that growth, where we don't want to grow in terms of, we have many, but we are moving towards quality.
Yeah, grow this way, not...
Exactly. Not this way. Having quality clients. And the philosophy is always better. You'll do better work. You'll enjoy the work. You'll be able to service without disappointing. And pretty much saying no. I'm sure many people will talk here, will say, man, at the beginning we were taking everything. You know, Jimmy, we were talking earlier the way you end up sleeping at 2 a.m. every day. And you think it's fine. You think like, other guys
this is
are sleeping.
growth.
Yeah. But man, you realize, man, it's too much. So it also affects your mental side of things, and that needs to be taken care of more than anything. So pretty much that very fast-paced growth, the way it affects the people, it also actually brings an imbalance to the people who are there. You are a family.
I was going to even ask that question, because you see, one of the things that we don't like to admit is that when you're starting out, there are people you have.
Yeah.
And let's say that moves you, just for arbitrary figures, let's say that moves you from 0 to 10 million, let's say. From 10 million to 100 million, you need a different type of person. Because so a lot of times, we never like to admit the fact that there are people who you have that may not be there during the
Scaling.
the scaling side that will be there from the starting side, and it's a conversation that needs to be had, because it's a different set of mindset. It's a different type of skill set that's required, and sometimes we tend to think that the same person who got you from the same people that you came from zero is the same person who's going to move from. It can work in certain environments, but in service sometimes I've found that it's a delicate balance. And I think another thing that you say that I take away is clarity. Nobody ever thinks, okay, I am getting 10 and I am getting 10. And even if they are 15, I am getting 10. And there's this thing I was reading about. The ideal business is one where you have more, where demand and supply tension is high, where you have more subscribers than you can handle.
You can service.
And if you notice, that's exactly what these large businesses that we know of. We'll talk about Apple, we'll talk about all of those things. When they are launching something, there's always more customers than there is product. And it's a beautiful environment to be in, where I don't think that it's impossible to serve everyone, but there's a certain extent we get to here, but we were getting 100 products. But for us to get 100 products, we created demand for 300. It's not a bad thing for people to be told, yes, you can wait for. If you notice, a lot of very successful businesses operate in an environment of oversubscribed. There's always more people wanting it more than, and there's a science to it. It's not just waking up and running and opening and if you notice, even a lot of businesses that even close at a certain time, you will, even a bank, 4 p.m. tumefunga. We operate within this period, and there will always be that supply-demand tension, which is a story for another day. But it's important it's important to have that clarity that we are serving 10, and not 15, and we will serve 10 up to this point, and then for us to adjust to this other one, we will have to recalibrate ourselves, not just free-flowing, open branches everywhere. And then now we do not even know what to manage, and then we collapse. And I think that's a thing. Sorry, you were going to say something.
No, I actually have a question. In terms of, so you've told us about your better philosophy. Jimmy has brought out that takeout on clarity. But is there any mantra that you have in life that keeps you going through the ups and downs?
In life?
Yes.
Big word.
By the way, I feel like my mantra keeps changing based on, sometimes you can meet someone in your life and
which is okay, right?
Everything just changes.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, the things that people remember is the kind of person you are as a human. If you are a good person, I only think you can thrive. I always think you'll thrive anywhere, in any sector, because favor will always follow you. So for me, I always try and be the best version in terms of just not being an asshole to people, not, treating people well. Of course, you'll fall here and there, but pretty much along, how can you just remain a good person no matter what you do to the guard, to the guard outside your house, when people are not watching, what are you doing? To your pets, if you have.
Don't go kick your dog.
Don't go kicking dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just pretty much how I move. And also just honestly pouring your everything in anything you do. You'd rather say no if you feel you can't. But if you pour everything, it could even be you're organizing a boys' trip to Naivasha, right? And your role is very simple, to choose the bus that will take guys there. You need to do it with your everything. That's a small role that you've been given. And actually, I feel like personally, I get a lot of reward knowing that I did it right in the right way. There's a time I did a billboard that I knew I'd not done nicely. Every time I passed that billboard, there's a thing in me that just used to sink. Because I know. No one else knows, but I know there's a shadow I didn't cast right on that image. So that also just made me know, hey man, it's just good to do everything right. Yeah.
But what's being a good person? Or it's sometimes it's the plan is nice. It
depends.
But you meet other people who are not very good.
So this year I've switched it. This year, me being a good person is each and every day, I don't need to make someone feel worse than they felt before they met me. That's what I'm casting this year. So every day I'll do an audit. Today, which people did I make feel bad? And you can always correct, right? You can go tomorrow and say, hey, man, how I spoke to you yesterday wasn't right, but this is what I was trying to say. So it's a thing. If I do an audit daily. It could be, man, you arrived late and that thing really made someone feel, man. So it's small things like that across everything. Yeah.
Are there, in service business, there's a lot of times a lot of time is spent doing things. Sometimes not very successfully. Not every environment where you put your effort, you get the reward.
Yeah.
Has that ever had an effect? What's been your experience around that, one? And then two, has that ever had an effect on, just your mental health? And maybe how have you gone about it?
Yeah, I remember there's a time at Newton, years back, we did a pitch. We did it well. It was 2 weeks of hard work, Saturday and Sunday. And then we lost the pitch. And I remember when you receive the message that you've lost the pitch, someone delivers it to the agency.
We regret to inform you.
Yeah, so the email will be sent to one person, then that person will deliver that message. And how this person delivered really mattered on how we took it. That's the first time that I saw how, as a leader, even how you deliver bad news matters to how your team will move forward in terms of not being heartbroken and all these things. Because we were called, it was made like a serious thing. Before the news was given, it was about, I really appreciate the work you guys put in. And now individually, I remember you on a Thursday, you were wearing the same clothes that we left you on Wednesday, which means you didn't go home. I remember you bought lunch for everyone because guys, and now, when you notice that as a leader, this person recognizes the effort to the minute level of even knowing that I know your sister was in hospital, but you still worked late. That is the differentiator. Now, when you break the news, it's still a win because it's a learning. When we move to the next pitch, people will give it even 10 times.
Yeah, it won't.
Rather than demoralizing.
Deflation. Yeah, it won't feel deflated.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. So now we'll switch to rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't have a lot of pressure. They want to be
the first thing that comes
questions.
to my mind. Yeah.
Yes. So first thing, you just let us know. Favorite social media platform to work with?
Instagram.
Most overrated digital trend?
Dances.
What?
Are you talking about the coffins, guys?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just dances in general.
Okay.
What's the most innovative campaign you've worked on?
Kafu.
The most challenging part of being an MD?
People. Dealing with people and managing people.
Breakfast or lunch?
Lunch.
What inspires you every day?
People I meet every day. The guys I talk to. Yeah.
If not digital or comms or advertising, what career path would you have chosen?
Easy architecture.
One app you can't live without?
Hey man, I've let TikTok, yeah?
And yet you claim to hate dances.
I even set a timer.
That's why he hates dances.
No, for architectural material.
Okay.
No, but TikTok, difficult to get rid of.
One marketing campaign from wherever that you wish you had worked on?
Can we separate that to local and international?
Okay, local and international.
Local, I used to want to really work on those old ads. You remember the ads for EABL? Every 2 years they used to do like this huge TVC.
Milele.
Those Mileles, Mawindo ya Mfalme, Nderemo ya Mabingwa. I even remember them. Those were really good. I wish I was in advertising to work on those at that time. Internationally, anything that will appear in the
Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything. Even what appears these days.
Okay. Yeah.
A hobby you've picked up recently?
What have I picked up?
TikTok dancing.
No, funny enough, it's around business. Now just understanding business to a deeper level, not just as a manager. Yeah.
Not the surface.
Not on the surface, yeah. So I consume a lot of those podcasts for business and that kind of stuff, yeah.
Okay, good. So as we close, so this is your camera. So we'll just look at it and you will give us your how not to leverage digital communications successfully as an SME.
How not?
How not to leverage digital communication successfully as an SME.
How not to leverage big words.
The how not to.
How
you
not
used
to.
very,
How not to guide.
very proposal.
How not to
I
leverage.
love big words.
All right, number one, I think it's very important that you don't look at digital as an expense, right? It needs to be looked at as an investment that needs to bring out something at the end. The moment you shift your outlook from seeing like this is an expense to this is an investment, a lot of things will start making sense. Number two, always treat your website as an employee, right? What do you do for an employee every month? You have to put in money on them. You have to keep checking on it, all these things. It's a great and crazy tool to actually help your business grow. People don't do that much, by the even established businesses don't. Number three, do not hire your friends to run your digital simply because they are young or something. Just get an expert to help you do a lot of these things. Number four, measure, man. You have to measure everything that you do. So any money that goes into digital, luckily can be measured. It's not like traditional where you put a billboard up and we can't even know how many people see it. Digital can actually be measured, and there are tools that can do that. 5, learn as little as possible in as many areas as you can about digital, and then let experts do the hard stuff. I remember Neil deGrasse Tyson normally says, the thing that he's mostly afraid of is not knowing even that thing needs to be thought about. You don't even know that
you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know even what you don't know. So at least if you are aware that a few things, you're like, okay, I know 2% of this thing. I know it works. I've read a few things. So let me see how that can go. What number are we on?
Go next.
The next one. Man, digital moves so fast, right? If you feel like you can't catch up with it, pay someone to help you bring it together. So how can you do this? Going for conferences, someone will speak, read a bit of books. People won't read books, I know, but listen to that podcast, consume bit-sized. It can be a 10-minute every evening as a ritual on things to do with digital and around your business. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for gracing our podcast.
Thank you so much.
I think it's been quite insightful, even not just in terms of digital communication, but just running businesses and all that. I think one key takeout from my end is how you do anything is how you do everything, which you've really brought out. I don't know if Jimmy has any.
No, it's always good to. I know I've been in the space as well, but sometimes looking at it from the outsiders and having a conversation, because sometimes you're in the kitchen too much.
Yeah.
So looking at it from the other side is always good. So thank you very much for making the time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I also appreciate, Jimmy, I appreciate your work even without us meeting before.
Yes.
I was telling you earlier, I've really been inspired by someone you inspired. So I've been inspired. It's a copy of
Do you hear I inspire people?
I can hear.
Tell this guy,
I can hear
yeah.
people outside, not here.
So thank you. And I think we'll pick conversations after this. And Alon, thanks so much for putting this together. I like when I see something on paper. You showed me this idea on your laptop.
And now it's
and now we are sitting here doing it. I'm looking forward to many, many more. And all that you'll shoot. All the best.
Right. But before we close, you still have 1 minute with that camera. You can say anything. You can start your 2027 campaign here if you want to, or just push your bids, whatever you want. 1 minute with the camera.
I did a top 10 of the things not to do for a business. So quick fire, rapid. Here are the things that you need to know or not to do with your business, right? I won't go deep. If you want to go deep, log into it. Anyway, I'm joking. But pretty much, number 1, man, do not hire your friends. Do not start a business with your friends unless you are extremely sure. You need to have a measure of that. Number 2, do not underprice your product or your service so that you actually win a client. That's very dangerous. You'll do a lot of work doing that, but a client who will see your value will come your way. So just be patient. Number 3, you have to collect payments on time for a business. Most businesses in Kenya fall not because they don't have business, but because they've not figured out collection. So this is linked to the kind of clients you go. Always go for the kind of clients who have a budget and will respect your value. Number 4, you cannot say yes to each and every client you beat. You need to figure out how to say no. And I've seen some MDs who run agencies bring this point up. You have to actually say no to some clients to be able to feed the current clients that you have. Number 5, and this is a dangerous one, man, never overpromise and overdeliver. You will lose all your clients. All. Because they'll keep talking. And by the clients talk, yeah? So one will tell another. The next time you're not even invited to pitches if you're in advertising. So never overpromise and underdeliver. Higher. Number 6, contracts and legalities. They are very important. So if you're if you're doing shareholding, your partnership, make sure your shareholder agreement has been done by a lawyer, not yourself. There's nothing like gentleman's agreement. Make sure you get your contracts right and follow them to the letter. And even when a client gives you a contract and they're making you do more than on the contract, always bring the conversation of the contract says so that you get your value. Sorry, let me pick this up. Number 7, you really need to build a unique niche in your business. You can't serve everyone and you need to be known for something. So assuming you have 2 million shillings to do a business and half of that is going to marketing, you'd rather market one thing nicely than now you're splitting that marketing budget across 10 different businesses that you're doing. You need to be known. There are some restaurants even know this. I'm known for fish only. Why don't they cook the other stuff? That's really important. And then if you have a team, you have to invest in the team. And this is not just the remuneration. It also needs to come with training, investing on their social life, getting to know them. This is really important. The team is what will drive your business to the next level. 9. You need to market yourself. This is the reason why I'm on this podcast. Yeah? Because marketing yourself, a good example, if you look at Virgin, the whole group of company, Richard Branson is perfect at doing this. His image alone will open doors because of these things that is done. And we live in a world today where eyeballs is equals to money. That's why influencers are earning a lot. So you really need to market yourself. And number 10, and Jimmy, we discussed this before, you really need to take care of burnout because you love your work too much. You'll start making money. You'll want not to disappoint, but take care of yourself. At the end of the day, you burn out, you won't be able to do anything, and that can really affect. So that's my 10 1-minute takeout for the podcast.
Asante, and I think we'll end there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.